alarms flashing everywhere. Wait, hold the phone. Before this video titled gets started, we want to make a quick public service announcement to all of our viewers. We here at the Old Warlock have created our first ever supplement called the Deck of Contradiction. If you've watched some of our videos or been interacting with us, you may have heard mention of this before. Our Kickstarter for the Deck of Contradiction will be getting started on February 9th. February 9th, right down here, really big letters. We're very, very excited about this.
We are.
From all the interactions we've had with you guys, we think this is going to be a supplement that you all are going to like quite a bit as well. So please, all we're asking right now is that you go check out the Kickstarter page, the
pre-launch page.
The pre-launch page, just click the link below. Down in the description, go take a look. There's going to be a lot more of that coming soon. But again, the Kickstarter will actually be launching on February 9th. Before anything, that's all we've really got. And without further ado, here's the video. Bah! Did you ever watch Gilligan's Island when you were young?
Oh yeah, I grew up on Gilligan's Island. You did too.
I did too. Yeah. What do they live in on Gilligan's Island?
I assume you're going to say huts.
I am going to say huts. And you know, mentioning huts, that reminds me of one of my favorite Advanced Dungeons & Dragons artifacts. Do you know what it could be?
The Gilligan's Island? No,
Baba Yaga's hut.
Oh boy.
That's right, ladies and germs. Today on the Old Warlock...
We don't call our people who watch us germs.
It's just an expression.
Yeah, but
I didn't mean anything by it. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be talking about Baba Yaga's hut. Now, what we want to do is talk a little bit about what it is, and then go into sort of the history of how it was incorporated into everyone's favorite game, Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say that this is part of a kind of like a mini-series that we're doing. What were we calling it? D&D Origins, I think, or Artifact
something
Origins,
like
or something like that. But what we're trying to do is just give you some idea of the background of some of these mainstay artifacts or character types or whatever that you find in Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
And so this is just a continuation of us doing that.
That it is. And so the first thing that I'll say is, personally for myself, I have never encountered Baba Yaga's hut during my play in Dungeons and Dragons. Have you ever encountered Baba Yaga's hut?
I have used Baba Yaga's hut one time.
One time?
But it's always been a really interesting idea for me. And I've taken concepts from Baba Yaga's hut, which also has kind of a TARDIS component going on as well.
Doctor Who.
Doctor Who thing, yeah. And so I've taken that concept and put it into other things, but using Baba Yaga's hut specifically, no.
No. Well.
But that doesn't mean it's not an interesting thing.
Absolutely not.
And
I'm sure that this is one of the, I would say, quintessential relics of Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. So I'm sure that a lot of you have maybe had some sort of encounter or experience with it. So the first thing that we're going to do, just as a refresher, is read what it says about Baba Yaga's hut.
No, wait a minute, though.
Wait a minute.
We're going to go, and he picked up the AD&D DM's guide, but actually Baba Yaga's hut first appeared in 1976 in Eldritch Wizardry.
You mean it wasn't first mentioned in the AD&D DM's guide?
I don't know what's gotten into him. But no. It was not first mentioned in the AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide. It was first mentioned in the Eldritch Wizardry supplement for original Dungeons & Dragons.
Something we have mentioned before, this book that we've used it a few times.
Yes, one of my favorite books because it really does have a lot of... It shows a lot of the origin of D&D lore or artifacts, that kind of thing. It's just a fun read to go through. But, do you want to read it? Or should I read it?
You go ahead and read it.
I'm going to read where Baba Yaga's hut first was introduced into D&D, but then we have to go back into Eastern European folklore to find out more about Baba Yaga's hut itself. But in D&D, in 1976, the listing here is Baba Yaga's hut. I have a feeling, I do not know this for sure, I have a feeling that this was something that Gary Gygax wrote up and brought over into Dungeons & Dragons.
It's definitely possible.
In other words, he took it from Eastern European folklore and then brought it straight into D&D. It could have been Brian Bloom, but I think that it might have been Gary Gygax. Baba Yaga's hut, Eldritch Wizardry, Dungeons & Dragons, 1976. Somewhere There reportedly exists this relic of the greatest wizardress of all time, Baba Yaga. Her hut is a smallish appearing hovel, about 10 to 15 feet in diameter, and it stands on but 2 strange stilts. The interior of this hut, however, is 10 times the outer diameter. It is filled with rich furnishings and minor magical items, and its walls are equal to stone 5 feet thick. Furthermore, the stilts it stands upon are actually gigantic bird-like legs which can carry the hut over any sort of terrain. 36 inches per turn in wet places, 24 inches a turn on normal terrain, 12 inches per turn on forests. Over rough and rocky ground or up and down mountainous land. It can do all of those things. The legs of the hut are able to deliver mighty blows to any intruder rash enough to come near without invitation. Each melee round, the hut's legs are able to strike once, with a 30% hit probability, doing from 3 to 24 points of damage. You don't want to mess with Baba Yaga's hut.
That's a lot of power.
The hut also has 1 power from table 4, so you generated a random power to go with it, so that your Baba Yaga's hut was not the same as someone else's Baba Yaga's hut.
Which is fun. I like that.
But that's the first mention of Baba Yaga's hut for D&D is here in Eldritch Wizardry from 1976. Now, read the AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide. Not a huge difference, but some subtle differences. A little more complex.
Absolutely. And for you eagle-eyed viewers who are watching us now, we promise this is actually the original DM's Guide. It's just a reprinting. Don't worry.
And I've got several of the originals, but I don't like
Yeah.
messing with them because that's who I am.
Yeah.
I'm that way. So we use this new one.
Baba Yaga's hut. Ages ago, the most powerful female mage ever known spent much of her power in the creation of a magical dwelling of superb character. When she passed to another plane, her hut disappeared and has only been rumored to have been seen once or twice since. Baba Yaga developed a small hut of ordinary appearance, a circular thatched structure of 15 feet in diameter and 10 feet high. To this dwelling are attached 2 powerful foul legs, bird foul legs, 12 feet long, which appear to be stilts. Furthermore, the hut has intelligence, high, and human senses, plus infravisual ability to 120 feet and ultravision. Inside the hut is a small palace, gardens, fountains of water and wine, and 30 rooms on 3 floors, all lavishly and richly furnished. Despite the commodious interior, the bird legs can move Baba Yaga's hut at up to 48 inches speed over swamp, 36 inches over rough or normal terrain, 12 inches over hills, through forests, etc. The hut will obey commands from one person, the one first using a key phrase, and can come to a call that has been as far away as 1 league. Its legs deliver blows equal to those of a hill giant, 2 attacks per round, to any so rash as to come near without invitation or knowing the command phrase. The legs are armor class 2 and can take 48 hit points damage each, regenerating at 1 hit point per melee round. The walls of the hut are equivalent to 5-foot thick granite. The hut has the following additional powers and effects, which, similar to the other one, you then roll using the charts to figure out.
Although, one major difference is that there are a lot more here. So it will have not only a primary power and a number of smaller powers. There's just an awful lot more that this hut can do in the AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide.
Yeah. So, as you can see, there are definitely some similarities, at least in terms of backstory and the overall description of it. It's a little bit more detailed, and this one seems to be a bit more lavish. There's more going on in the actual interior of the hut, but the overall thing is still the same. There are a lot of similarities.
Now, Baba Yaga's hut was basically the domicile and the transportation system for Baba Yaga. When I was younger, I always thought Baba Yaga's hut, I never really made the equation, I never really equated the hut as belonging to Baba Yaga for some reason.
It's just the weird name that it had.
It was just a weird name.
Yeah.
It wasn't until much later that I realized that Baba Yaga was, in addition, something that you needed to be concerned about.
Extra lore.
Right. And but it wasn't really until, I want to say it was about 1995, second edition AD&D, when things really started to kind of get rolling with Baba Yaga's hut. And in that year, there was a module that was produced, I think it was called the Dancing Hut of Baba Yaga. That was what it was. And that was actually, from what I've read, I have a copy of it, but I have not read it. Sorry, I didn't get to it before we filmed this video. But in that module, you actually go into Baba Yaga's hut for whatever reason, to rescue someone, to find information, whatever. And you're not really so concerned with Baba Yaga as you are with the hut itself. So it takes on kind of a power of a bad creature of its own. It's almost like a dungeon crawl in a TARDIS. You know, it's got the huge interior that is squeezed into a very small space. You know, and from what I've heard, it's really a very, very good module. And I need to take a closer look. And if I get into it and I think it's worth doing, we'll do a video entirely on the dancing hut of Baba Yaga.
Yeah.
But where the question here, our D&D Origins series, is where does Baba Yaga's hut come from? Jiminy Christmas. Let me start over again. I'm going to slow down a bit. Where did Baba Yaga's hut originally come from? Did it spring from the mind of Gary Gygax, like Athena from the head of Zeus, or was it something that he brought in? And it is definitely something that he brought in, because Baba Yaga's hut is first mentioned, Baba Yaga is first mentioned clear back in 1755 in some Eastern European literature. And even though that's the first literary mention of it, it definitely goes back many, many generations earlier than that.
What's this? The old warlock talking about history? Shocking.
Gee, yeah, I wonder
who would have thought?
Who would have thought that's happening, yeah. But Baba Yaga's hut, the origins are Eastern European. Baba Yaga is kind of a witch, as any of you who are familiar with the hut will understand. She's kind of a witch, but she is known to help people, usually inadvertently, but she's also known to imprison people and eat people. So you never kind of know depends on which side of the bed Baba Yaga got up on. You're never quite sure how to approach her. She's usually in stories the villain, but that's not always the case. But again, a lot of the time, anytime she does something good, it's inadvertent, or she wants something in return for doing you a favor. So she appears in like Eastern European Cinderella type tales very often, where she's playing the part of the fairy godmother, but kind of a dark fairy godmother who, again, usually does good things by accident.
Which, and to interject briefly, some of you who may, be thinking about traditional fairy tales, are like, oh my goodness gracious, why is there violence and the possibility of people being eaten in fairy tales?
Yeah.
Well, if you actually go back and read original fairy tales, I'm not talking like the Disney movie adaptions of them. Adaptations.
I like doing that from time to time. It's just, he sits over here and he does this, so I have to do that from time to time.
Yeah, it's deserved. But even so, a lot of these old original fairy tales are a lot more, they're very dark, they're very violent, they're scary, because a lot of them were written or created with the intent of trying to have, oftentimes, children behave in certain ways. And fear, it's a great motivator, If you think there's big scary stuff out in the woods, you're probably not going to go in the woods.
And it's funny you mention that, because one of the primary uses of the stories of Baba Yaga is to frighten children. And there is one tale, I can't remember the name of it, I apologize, but there is a tale where a mother goes off to market, leaves two children at home, boy and a girl. The boy decides that he's going to go out. There are crows involved, and when the crows are flying, you're not supposed to go leave the house. Children are not supposed to leave the house. He leaves the house. Baba Yaga shows up, kidnaps the boy, takes him, and is gonna throw him in oil and eat him. His sister comes in and rescues him, or it might be reversed. I think it is the boy who gets rescued by the girl. But very much a Hansel and Gretel type story, with Baba Yaga being the evil person about to eat the kid. So yeah, fear is a motivator.
It's a great motivator.
I'm not going outside because I might end up being eaten by Baba Yaga. So
yeah,
and when you look at when you look at the background of the words that are used to describe Baba Yaga, it really reinforces this perception of her as being this evil witch. Baba, depending on which Eastern European language you're looking at, Baba can stand for things like old woman, grandmother. It kind of translates loosely as that. But Yaga can translate, again, depending on the language you're looking at, it can translate into disease, horror, fury, anger, pain. There's no positive, sweetness and light for Yaga. So Baba Yaga, she's got a really long history of being part of folklore and being part of stories told around campfires, things like that, or told around fireplaces. And I think Gary Gygax just got to a point where he loved that particular, he loved that story, and he grabbed it and he took it and dropped it into D&D, and it has been there ever since. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it is too. And it just goes to show that, like when we talked about the Vorpal Sword a few videos back, for any of you who saw that, which was very popular. If you haven't seen it, really go take a look at it. We're pretty proud of that one. But it just does go to show how much effort that not only Gary Gygax, but anybody else involved with the creation of Dungeons & Dragons went to when they were creating all of the lore and all of the materials, everything that went into this game. So it goes it's deeper than people just coming up with stuff. A lot of it's based in some pretty interesting aspects of history and lore and different things, and folklore, things like that.
Well, and one of the things that I enjoy when I'm kind of looking into these, and some of this I've known for a long time because I'm a nerd that way, and that's the kind of stuff I like to research, but it gives you some insight into Gary Gygax, the man, or not just Gary Gygax, but the other people who are working at TSR who came up with a lot of these ideas. It gives you an insight into what they were interested in at the time, and some of the driving forces of their imaginations, which I think, again, is just a really cool, it's a cool window to be able to look through. It
is. So, if you have any stories about your experiences with the Hut of Baba Yaga, please let us know down below, because again, we actually haven't used it that much in the game, but we'd love to hear what happened when you guys did. Or if you have some experience with the actual module that was published with it, that was published for it, let us know. If especially if it's something you think would be worth us checking out and doing a video about.
Definitely. I mean, because we have a lot of material that we're always kind of perusing, but if you want to see something on Baba Yaga's Hut, the module that came out in 1995, which again, I have read is exceptional. That's something that we will definitely take into account in our future plans.
Or if you have anything else you would like us to look at, I'll toss that out there as well. If you have some specific module or artifact or something that you think you would like to hear us ramble on about for a little while, by Jove, leave us a comment down below.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all I've got.
That's all I've got too.
Baba Yaga from Eastern Europe mythology to your table of Dungeons & Dragons games.
Absolutely. I'll take a moment to shout out all of our patrons, all of our Patreon members. You guys are fantastic. Thank you all so much for everything you do.
We wouldn't be here without them.
If you're interested in subscribing to our Patreon, the link is down below in the description, so go take a look at that. We've got extra content that we put out there, extra videos. It's been a while since we've done a podcast, but when we do, we usually film a second half hour, 45 minutes of the podcast that goes just to them. They're getting some early access to some materials of different things that we're working on.
Yes.
So
we just sent them quite a few things.
Yeah, quite a few things as kind of a Christmas present. So we've got some stuff we've got a lot of other things you can go check out there. So if you're interested, go click the link. If not, no worries at all. We'll see you next time here on YouTube.
Now hang on though. Also, be aware we're starting a Kickstarter campaign on February 9th.
February 9th. Flashing right here.
It is right down below. You can go to Old Warlock Games on Kickstarter right now and sign up to be part of the advance warning crowd, so that you will be alerted when the Kickstarter campaign goes live.
Yes.
We've created something called the Deck of Contradiction, which comes with it's something similar to the Deck of Many Things, but different.
Yeah.
And it also comes with a great deal of lore out of my campaign. So if you're interested in that, go have a look. Again, in fact, we'll put a link to the pre-launch page down in the description. Go have a look, sign up for the pre-launch. You're not obligated to do anything by doing that. You'll just know when the Kickstarter campaign goes live.
Yes, and knowing what we know about a lot of our viewers, the things they're interested in when it comes to role-playing in D&D, you guys will like this thing that we've created. So please go check it out. We'd love to have you guys enjoy it just as much as we have. That being said, that's all we got.
I'm Jim.
I'm Alex.
Keep your sword on free, guys.
Bye-bye.